My name is Brian Fleming. I was a team leader, Sergeant E5, team leader in a reconnaissance platoon with the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division while fighting the war in Afghanistan. I was deployed in 2006, blown up twice. First time was by a roadside bomb in southeastern Afghanistan. I walked away from that actual explosion without a scratch on me. Just kind of some miracle power there. 2 guys injured, but they both returned to duty a month later. And then a couple of months later, following that, on July 24th of 2006, I had a suicide bomber pull his minivan right up next to me while I was inside my Humvee, which is up armored and bulletproof glass. He pulled his van right up next to my door about 2 or 3 feet away, and he exploded. And that was in Kandahar. And he blew himself and his van into about 1,000 pieces. I woke up in a ditch on the side of the road. First thing I recall, actually, was that I was just laying there and couldn't figure out why I'd go to sleep on the side of the road. And after a couple minutes, I actually did come to the conclusion that, okay, I'm in Afghanistan. All this blood and everything was actually mine. My hands looked like they had a pretty bad burn. I thought it was a pretty bad sunburn. Turned out to be a 3rd-degree burn. My face and neck were full-face 2nd-degree burns, which fortunately for me have healed. I spent the following 14 months at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, endured some reconstructive surgery and burn treatment, and was finally medically put out of the military. It is a huge risk to our national security because it affects our troops' combat readiness and their effectiveness in combat. When they don't work well together, this thin front line that I talked about, when these troops aren't working well together because there are issues between them, such as having to live in close, intimate quarters or shower with those who may be the same gender and sexually attracted to you, that is disturbing. It would be very disturbing. Of the men that I've served with, not the entire military, but of the men that I served with, 99 to 100% of them would be greatly against this if they had a voice to say it with. I know that the guys who I care about, who served with me and who still serve, even though I'm not with them anymore, they're having to deal with this and they have no voice at all. And so when you take that backbone of the military, that unit cohesion, you begin putting splinters in it and breaking it apart. I mean, there's a reason we don't have car bombs and suicide bombers blowing up in our neighborhoods and killing our families and killing our friends. There's a reason there aren't terrorists running down the street right outside here killing people. It's because our United States military, they're united and they're a tight-knit unit and they're fighting these terrorists in a foreign country so that we don't have to fight them right here. But if we take everything they're going through and then we just begin breaking that down. And like I said, I don't hate homosexuals. I don't hate anybody who's different. That's their right as an American. But when it begins imposing on national security and threatening your family's security, as well as mine, as well as theirs, these little political agendas that have nothing to do with this war that we're fighting, we just don't need that right now. At this point in history, we don't need this. That's the last thing our troops should have to be worrying about, is sharing close quarters, or having to be in shower rooms, or doing these things where, in working with in these close quarters with somebody they know who is openly a homosexual and maybe have a sexual attraction to them. Because then that breeds mistrust. Because they may be tempted to wonder, and I say this from experience, this is what many of them will wonder: can I trust this person? Why are they wanting to be my friend? Do they have alternate means that they're not talking about for wanting to be my friend? Do they want to pursue me sexually? And that's just something that the troops don't. We look over our backs, over our shoulders. We look over there for the enemy. We shouldn't have to be looking over our shoulders for those who are supposed to be serving with us and we're not having to worry about. Take this for example. I'm a man. If I wanted to share a shower room with a female soldier, that would not be permitted because of the nature, the gender, and the sexual attraction. That'd be a huge problem. I know from experience, at least in the combat world, the infantry world, I know that the repealing of this policy would definitely, without question, and I don't say potentially or possibly, I know from experience, there will be increased violence among our troops within the ranks, fighting each other, because the military is a very rough place to live. Anyone who's ever been in the military knows that. And you're going to see increased violence among these troops, fighting each other, and then if they're fighting each other and they're injured, they can't go out and fight our enemies who are trying to blow up our buildings and fly airplanes into them and drive car bombs down our streets. And so, overall, it's like we said before, it's a matter of national security. It's not to say, that homosexuals don't have rights. It's not to say they can't get jobs or they can't do this. They can live their lives, but the purpose of the military is to protect and preserve America, its people, and its freedoms. And doing this at this point, especially at this point in history, is not constructive in any way toward that overall goal and that mission.